No, we don't believe in that. Good morning, Rabotai. No, man, we don't have them. No, it's okay. We have them in the house. So hold on a second, okay? All right. Halakha class for today is V'elu Nishmata Shel Chana Gittel Bat Mordechai. Aliyat Neshama. The Yortzai is Friday. Baruch atah Adonai. Yehave daat, book 2, Siman 11. This halakha question was actually asked this week to me, similar to this question. Someone in our Bekenet said, Yair, he's in Israel now. And so he asked me, should he say barech alenu or should he say barechenu? Barechenu, we're still saying barechenu over here, which means we're not asking for rain in the Amidah. But in Israel already, they switch over and they do very soon to switch over and say barech alenu, asking for rain. They do it before us. The rabbis, they dictated that we say barech alenu v'ten talamatar, asking for rain, based on the seasonality outside of Israel in Babel. And so in Hutz La'aretz, it goes 60 days after the Tikupah. That's why we started in December. And in Israel already, they're going to be starting it sooner. So he said, what should he do? He's going to be in Israel when they switch it over to barech alenu over there for rain. But he's not a citizen of Israel. He's coming back. So this is a similar question, and then I'll answer the first question. It's another very interesting question. Someone that wrote to Hakam Ovadia alav shalom. Hayelet Sahal. You have soldiers from Israel, IDF soldiers. They're all around. They're in Lebanon. They're in wherever they are. They're not in Israel at the moment, and they're praying. The question is, should they pray like an Israeli prays? Asking for rain. And they should start that 7 Heshvan, which is the day in Israel where they start asking for rain. Or since they're not physically in Israel, now they're stationed in Lebanon or stationed in Sinai or wherever they are, they should have a din of Hutz La'aretz. How do they pray the Hamidah? That's what someone asked the Chamadia Yosef. Nechami, I got the question? You have a soldier someone wrote to Chamadia and said, you have a soldier from Israel who's stationed in, let's say, Lebanon or Egypt or wherever. In Israel already, they start saying, 7 Heshvan. But the rest, outside of Israel, you wait until 60 days after the Tikupah, which is December. So he said, what should I do? When they switch over in Israel, I'm Israeli, but I'm not in Israel. I'm outside of Israel for the moment. Should I pray like a Hutz La'aretz? Or should I pray like an Israeli? Oh, wow, very quick. Israel, we already have Mahloket.
But also,
that's why we're Jewish.
You're praying for rain.
So that's a good question. Are you praying for where you?
I would say it's wherever we live.
Which means since your home is in Israel, pray like for Israel?
Yeah, they do that. Some kind of mission.
So Nehemiah is in the minority here?
Yeah.
Akiva, you got the question? The question is, in the winter time, we switch over and ask for rain in the Amidah, in barech alenu. And so we say, 10 talamat, give rain to us. The question is, in Israel, they start doing this 7 of Heshvan, which is soon, 2 weeks from now, around something like that, maybe 3 weeks from now. But over here in America, we wait until December to do it because we don't need rain here that early, right? So the question is, if I'm Israeli, but I'm fighting in Lebanon, I'm physically in Lebanon, and it becomes time to switch over for the Israelis, what do I do in my Amidah? Do I pray like a Lebanese, or do I pray like an Israeli? That was the question they asked.
Looks like Israel.
Because your heart is still home?
You belong there.
Those areas are like biblical Israel too.
That's a good point. So is Syria. The special area, honestly, is Syria. Rambam goes through this. I always wanted to do this in the Gemara class one time. Rambam goes through the levels of all the lands. And it's Israel, obviously. Syria is actually number 2. Syria is number 2. David HaMelech annexed it to Israel. And then after Syria, you have the rest of the world, including Babel. But let's see. גדולי החנונים נחלקו בבין ארץ ישראל שנסע לחוץ לארץ. The Hanonim argue on this. מה דינו בעניין שאלת הלמטר? What's the halacha? Daat the Radbaz's opinion is אם דעתו לחזור לארץ ישראל בזמן שאלת גשמים של אותה שנה, if you're going to return to Israel sometime during the winter time, או אפילו אין דעתו לחזור, or even if you don't want to go back to Israel right now, כל שישאיר בארץ ישראל אישה ובנים, as long as you left a family behind, which is what you said, your house is in Israel, right? You think so? You said that? Someone said that. As long as you have a wife, you said that, a wife and family in Israel, שואל טל המטר בשבעה בחשוון והלאה כתושבי ארץ ישראל, מכיוון שהוא צריך לגשמים, then the Radbaz holds you should act like an Israeli. As long as you're going to return during the season for rain, or you have family or some source of roots in Israel, you should pray, it says the Radbaz, like an Israeli. Even if you want to say, yeah, but I'm a Hus La'aretz guy, rain's not going to kill you. You're praying for rain. Okay, it rains in Lebanon. All right, what's the big deal? I don't know if it's good for war or not. Do we want it to rain on them? I don't know. It's not going to kill anybody, the rain. It's a time of rain anyway. You'd rather not. Yeah, so that, I was thinking about this while I was reading the halakha. What about like tactical? But he doesn't address that at all in the whole siman. I actually don't want it to rain on this battlefield, or you do. I don't know.
Doesn't matter because both teams have the same problem.
I would think maybe the Israelis have the advantage in the rain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They call off work.
Yeah. They used to call, huh? We're praying for where we live.
But that's not what they say. The fact is, our Australia and we pray, and some in the cloud, and we pray much for what? What are we praying for?
Okay, so it's both. Mashiach Baruch is different. Mashiach Baruch, it's also not. Mashiach Baruch is not asking for me. Praising. That's asking for me. Yeah, because that's everyone's following Babel. It was enacted in Babel, in Babylon. So that's the season, and then they said the whole outside of Israel is just like Babel, but it's still asking for rain in Iraq, basically. Yeah, the Iraqis have to ruin everything. By the way, you mentioned cancel the war. If you read the old books, that had a couple. I like history, so if there's a couple of books about George Washington's people, right? They canceled the war for the winter. There was no war in winter. The Revolutionary War. Everyone just stopped it because of the. In fact, more people died during the winter, not in battle, than in battle in the summer. If you read the diaries, they're just dying of frostbitten, basically. V'chein eskim HaGaon Rabbi Yaakov Kashtaro in the Sefer Aholei Yaakov. He agrees with the Radbaz. They should pray like an Israeli. And agreeing also is Rabbi Moshe Hagiz and the Halachot Ketonot and the Pri Hadash writes, even if you're not coming back in the winter at all, you're not even going back to Israel in the rainy season. Still you should pray like the Israeli. Ulam, however, Maran Ahida Berech Yosef writes, the Hida says, since you're in the visiting place, you're just one guy, and the whole Sibur is not praying for rain. Everyone around you is a citizen of Hutz La'aretz, outside of Israel. You must pray like the rest of the shul. You have to wait till December. And the Hida says he heard this from Rabbi Yaakov Molecho, who wrote this as a kitivat yad, as a handwritten letter, agreeing with his Hida that if you're outside of Israel, you have to pray like a Hutz La'aretz guy, is Rabbi Aharon al-Pindari, in the name of the Hagaon Rabbi Abraham Yitzhaki, the Av Beitin of Hebron, that he used to say in the name of the same rabbi, Maharim Molecho, and the Zerachia Gote Ush'al Gedulim, not like the Radbaz that we started the class with, who says you should pray like an Israeli. Ulam, says the Chavadia, Benidon Shelano, in our case, Sha'medubar Betzibur Gadol Shel Hayalek Tzahal Ve'Hashem Miluim. We're talking about a lot of guys here that are all soldiers or reservists. שיש להם משפחות בארץ ישראל, they have families in Israel. וכל מחזורם, בד ולחם ומזון, ובאים עליהם מארץ ישראל. All the provisions are brought in from Israel. They're not buying food in Lebanon. וגם דעתם לחזור בהקדם האפשרי. They want to go back as soon as possible. כשיהיה הדבר אפשרי מבחינת ביטחונית. As soon as it's safe, they don't want to stay over there, they want to go back home. לפיכך, יש להם לשאול על המטר, החל משבעה בחשבון כתושבי ארץ ישראל. Therefore, they're in Israel, basically. Their heart's in Israel, their mind's in Israel. They want to get out of there the second they could. So they should pray like an Israeli, says the Chavadia. And even with it's even better with the proof of Rabbi Agaon, Rabbi Abraham Hayun, who wrote, that the halakha follows the first opinion, that you should follow and pray like the Israeli people, like your family. Agreeing with this is Rabbi Kiva Eger, and the Sisi Eliezer, and the Zechon Abraham Avigdor, Sedeh Haaretz. In the Sefer of Rav Moshe Feinstein, he says the same thing. For sure, if you started asking for rain, in other words, you weren't drafted in the military to go out until you already started asking for rain. You actually switched your Amidah already. You were not drafted? What's the word? You were called to action. I don't know what they call it. You were recalled up after the switchover. So you already started praying for rain like an Israeli. So you should go to Lebanon and stop praying for rain and then go back home and yes, pray for rain. It's a joke, he says. He says, if you're going to do this, they drafted him. They drafted to the army. Now you're going all around. Just keep praying the way you were praying before. If you're going to stop, every time you go out of the country, you're going to stop praying. You're joking around, and Hashem's like, I don't know what you want from me. You want rain, and you don't want rain. Every day, pray for something else. Once you started praying for rain, leave it alone and keep praying for it. He says over here, from the Sefer of Shmuel Vital, he says, he argues on this Rabbi Vital. He says, if you were an Israeli and you started praying for rain already, and then you left Israel, and you go travel outside of Israel after you started, as long as you enter the borders, you have to immediately stop asking for rain, according to Rabbi Shmuel Vital. Ulam, he doesn't like this. Chachamim disagrees. It must be he didn't see the Rabbaz. Hey, how could you say such a thing? Says the Chachamim. He must have not seen the other opinion, who said you should continue praying for rain. The halakha would follow ha'ikar k'divrei Maran Hida. שמכיוון שהתחיל לשאול טל המטר בשבעה בחשוון, ימשיך לשאול טל המטר בארץ ישראל. Once you start asking for rain, if you're an Israeli, you keep asking for rain, even if you travel out of the country. ועוד, שהרי במקומות הסמוכים לארץ ישראל, if you're going to the places in the Middle East, this is like a little bit like what Nehemiah was talking about. If you go to the places in the Middle East, והאקלים שלהם, the climate, האקלים שלהם דומה לאקלים של ישראל, they have a very similar climate. So it's what's the end of the world? The ask for rain in Iraq also, or in Syria, or wherever it is. I would also say the Sefer Divrei Yosef Schwartz shekatav she'en safek shebemkomot hasimuchim le'eretz Yisrael, if you're in a country that's right near Israel, v'ha'avid v'ha'eklim shelehem, the atmosphere, the climate is domeh l'shel Israel, it's almost the same as Israel. Av api she'en mechutz l'kedushat Israel, yes, they're not holy like Israel. Kegon Midbarot Sinai, like the desert of Sinai, the Suez, the El Arish. Where is that? It's in Egypt. The El Arish, all these types of places. Or this whole region. What's the big deal? Ask for rain the same time as Israel. Also in Damascus, because they have a very similar climate. But the people of Halab, the Antukia, I don't know that city. Halab. Antukia is in Syria. he says. Where's Antukia? I never heard of that.
It's much more Turkey.
Antukia. V'chen be'it Suez atzma. I never knew that Suez was a city itself also. Yeah. Also the city Suez. Shoreline community Golan, they follow the Husla Aris. Even though they have very similar climate, everyone outside of Israel is on the same path. It's the path of Iraq, Bavel, basically. Besikum, halacha l'maaseh, hayalet tzahal, soldiers, ve'anshe miluim, and people in the reserves, hanimsiim b'midbarot, Sinai, b'Suez, b'Golan, all these different places. They should start the same thing as their families in Israel on the 7th of Heshvan. For sure, if they were home and they started already asking for rain on the 7th of Heshvan, and then they were drafted into the Golan and Sinai and all this, they should not stop what they're doing. They should continue the way they were doing. In any event, if let's say they didn't know this halakha, and they said, "Oh, I'm not talking about Israel." I'm going to say the other one. They said barechenu. They did not say talamatad. And to the Chim Hazor, we're not going to make them repeat the Amidah because there's many opinions who say they did the right thing and they should not. So both ways will be for the leniency. And then I just want to finish the halakha with the answer to this person who asked me. What page did he say I was in? Hold on, I have it here. Yair asked me because he's in Israel now. What should he do when they started there? And so how we talk right over here? The same halakha we just wrote. Ben Eretz Israel a citizen of Israel who started already saying barech alenu zayin heshvan, and then afterwards he goes to Husla Amenat lahazor b'mishuk hashana. He's going to come back. So even then during the year, forget 30 days, he'll be back for the year. Yamshich lomar talmatar ubekat hashanim gam biyoto sham. He continues asking for rain even while he's here in Israel, in America. Even though none of us are asking for rain yet. But what does he do if he's a Hazan? He can't be different. He should say the short summer version. Right before he finishes Shomei Tefillah, quietly he should say, and then continue being the Hazan. Interesting halakha. But if he actually moved the family and is now living here, he has to do what everyone else is doing. And the opposite. You have a citizen of America who's visiting Israel now. He's going to go back to his place. Soon. He has to follow the Israelis, even though he's only there temporarily, and start asking for rain on Zayin Heshvan. What does he do when he comes back? Then he has to stop asking for rain when he comes back here. It's good for him to continue in Shomei Tefillah, because he's in both places. Unbelievable. Just because you went to Israel for a day, they have to be in your heart. The Israel way, and then when you come back, switch to barechenu and Shomei Tefillah, you have to do it. Because this piece of you, a piece of all of us, is always in Israel. That's the halakha for today. Yeah.